Hello and welcome back to the Tank Observers podcast. My name is Jackson McCarty, alongside my partner in crime, Chris Barr. And Chris, what are we doing today?
Jackson, today we have the pleasure of covering the AFC and what is a relatively late show, being that we're covering the NFL draft still, especially since we've already started scouting the next one.
Yeah,
But,
we jumped on that bandwagon a bit too early and jumped on this one a bit too late.
with everything going on, can you blame us? There's a whole lot of not normal things happening, and we're just trying to get back into the groove of normalcy.
That's the nicest way to put it. Not normal. 2020 has just been a whole lot of not normal. But
Yeah, there's plenty of not normal going on.
But Topher, we've wasted enough time not doing these podcasts yet. Let's just go ahead and hop into it. We're going to start off today with the AFC North. Tell me a little bit of how the Bengals did this year.
The Bengals did exactly what we expected them to, and they did it in a pretty interesting way. One of the only teams that didn't trade away picks. They used all of their first picks. Of course, round one, pick one, round two, pick one. Doesn't happen all the time, but they did it with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Akeem Davis-Gaither, Khalid Kareem, Hakeem
Adeniji.
Adeniji. It's definitely a name.
Yeah.
And Marcus Bailey. That was a decent draft. There's not much you can say to complain about. They did exactly what they set out to do. They got their QB. They got a receiver to go along with them. And they got a few linebackers along the way that I think are going to pay off.
Yeah.
I gave them a B.
They played it by the book for sure. You can see they hit what they needed to hit. Maybe they didn't grab the greatest players. I very much enjoy Akeem Davis-Gaither. I know Joe Burrow was a lock for number one. Wasn't too high on T. Higgins, but I can understand why they'd want to bring him in. It's just very, very interesting that they kept it very by the book. I think they did what they had to do. Nothing spectacular, though.
Nothing flies off the page. And you'll see that the same type of notes I gave them along pretty much the entire AFC North. Such a boring division draft-wise. A lot of depth picks, a lot of exactly what you'd expect type of picks.
This is what they would do. This is what they would do. No, nobody really came off the page. But you said you gave them a B, correct?
I gave them a B.
All right.
A deserved B.
Yeah, it's just that's the most average grade you can give them.
When you open with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and then slide into the realm of inside linebacker, outside linebacker, and no exciting name, no big schools, just very vanilla.
Yeah, just they did what they had to do. But
they gave them a grade B.
Yeah, moving on to the next team in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns. They went with Jedrick Wills, first pick, 10th overall. Grant Telpett, who you'll hear me talk about here in a second round of 12th overall pick. Jordan Elliott, third round, pick 24. Jacob Phillips, Harrison Bryant, Nick Harris, and Donovan Peoples-Jones. Now, I let you take the notes for this team because it's very well formed how I feel about Delpit. I'm not high on the guy, and I don't want to keep busting him. I don't want to keep going after him. But I am very interested in hearing how you feel they did with this draft.
I think they did a good job. I gave them the highest grade for any North team as far as the AFC is concerned, with a B+.
Yeah.
I think they drafted plenty of players that are going to make immediate impact, and I think Delpit is one of them because he can run several positions. He can run man-to-man defense and play that slot or even the outside. He has the length for it, but he's more of a safety, and they need a safety. They lost Demarius Randall to free agency, so I think getting him was an important fit. Not to mention Jedrick Wills was one of their best graded picks by just about everyone, and he should be They needed a right tackle. They've needed a right tackle since losing Mitchell Schwartz all those years ago.
No kidding.
And that was a solid pick for them. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones and Nick Harris may be some of the better picks in the whole draft. Getting them that late is great value.
Yeah, we were very high on Donovan Peoples-Jones coming into this year, and to see him fall to the 6th round, I mean, I understand it's a deep wide receiver class, but that's kind of mind-blowing.
Coming out of Michigan, especially that system, still getting productivity.
Yeah.
Size, length. He's just such a form receiver. He reminds me a little bit of Cortland Sutton. If you stood them next to each other, it'd be hard to tell them apart as far as the height, the build. They're so similar. I could see them having similar impacts on the field. So maybe having him as a third option as far as receivers concerned. I know they have Rashard Higgins, but we could see him slide into that spot. One pick that confused me a little bit was Harrison Bryant. The last thing they need is another tight end on their roster. They already have Njoku and Austin Hooper and Demetrius Harris. They have 3 tight ends. Why do they need a 4th? Do they want a scout team player? Do they just want an Evan Ingram clone for absolutely no reason? What could they want?
I feel like Njoku's about to be traded.
I'd like to see it because I still think he has talent, athleticism on his side.
Njoku and OJ Howard both. I mean, those are both 2 extremely talented tight ends that are just going to be sitting behind bigger name guys, bigger contract guys that need to find new teams. But, yeah, the Harrison Bryant thing just doesn't make any sense right now, but I feel like it could be a long play.
There's so many picks this year that eluded me as far as other things were concerned. I don't get some of them. A lot of these teams just drafted for depth, and I just don't get it. But let's move on. They got a B+ because it was an overall solid draft. It's just Harrison Bryant was great value. I mean, coming 4th pick or 9th pick of the 4th round. You know, why not take him, I guess? You know, if you want a tight end, he was the best on the board at the time. I just don't know why they wanted a tight end.
Yeah, very curious. But go ahead and run me down who the Ravens picked this year.
So the Ravens with their first pick, Pat Queen, 23rd pick in the 2nd round, J.K. Dobbins. And then they took Justin Matabuke,
there you go,
Devin Duvernay, Malik Harrison, Tyree Phillips, all in the 3rd round, Ben Bredesen in the 4th, Broderick Washington in the 5th, James Prochet, who we were both very high on, in the 6th, and then Geno Stone in the 7th. I like Geno Stone a lot. Very athletic.
Yeah, and they had a fine class. Pat Queen, we all kind of assumed that's where he was going, at least between us two. We mocked him there fairly consistently because he just fits. That's just his spot. But the J.K. Dobbins pick threw me off to see, but I like it.
Well, remember what we did. We did the superlatives, and he was most likely to never be alone.
Yeah.
Because he's never going to be alone. He's going to be a Dion Lewis for his entire career, in my opinion. That's where I see him being.
Very high-end Dion Lewis, but I understand.
Of course, he's a great player, and we have an aging Mark Ingram. Not to take away from his abilities, he's just still a great running back, but he needs that change of pace in his life.
Has Mark Ingram ever been a great running back? Being completely honest, outside of Alabama, I don't think he's
Mark Ingram's been a great 20 to 20 back inside the 20s.
Yeah.
Back.
He's the guy you tag in whenever.
Now he has his Sproles.
Yeah.
He has the guy to do the legwork so he can vulture his touchdowns. It'll be great. Don't worry about it. But as far as I could tell, a lot of depth pieces, maybe some future starters. We see Brent Bredesen. He's going to be sitting behind Marshall Yanda for hopefully another year so that Marshall doesn't just, fall over on the field and just be like, all right, I guess I'll retire now. And
that's 3 years late.
Yeah, and they drafted 2 receivers that are I call them slot receivers. You say Prochet can run the outside. He has the hands for it. I don't know about the size or athleticism.
I'm looking more at that technique. He's got a really good cut.
He has a killer double move too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really it. They even drafted a running back in the second round when they already have an established starter who's making a nice sum of money.
But the Ravens were one of those teams that we knew coming into this year they weren't going to be looking to get a bunch of starters because they don't have a whole lot of starters that they need. They were in the AFC.
They have a lot of aging vets.
Right, which is
that
exactly
they might want to address.
Which they hit a lot of that this year, though, with those developmental pieces like you brought up.
I like Bredesen filling into a spot later, but they really could have used a guard earlier to maybe try to replace Bradley Bozeman. I thought was a weak point in the offensive line. But I guess they might not have seen it. Maybe they drafted Ben Bredesen to take that spot. Maybe they have the confidence in him to be a starter.
Which Bredesen
I do not know.
Bredesen was a very good player in college. He just slid down some boards for whatever reason. But what grade did you end up giving them, Toph?
I gave them a lowercase b because they were so boring. I had to write this whole thing. It was tough. And you know what? We're not getting any more exciting with the 6 picks made by the Steelers. Oh, yeah, they made a whole 6 picks. And the most exciting piece was a heavy reach on Chase Claypool. I had Chase Claypool as maybe a 4th-round receiver. I had him below Donovan Peoples-Jones, who went in the 6th round. He is a monster, very athletic, can jump very high, and has decent enough hands that he got drafted 17th overall, or 17th in the 2nd round. Pardon my misuse of words.
Yep.
And they also drafted Alex Highsmith, Anthony McFarland, Kevin Dotson, Antoine Brooks Jr., and Carlos Davis. Notes: boring. It's just awful. It's entertaining TV is made when you're like, whoa, what, how did they do that? Not, all right, I guess. That's what I was doing when I was watching the Steelers make their picks. I was like, okay, so they took Alex Highsmith in the 3rd round. Do they need that? Probably not. He's going to sit. Like, this isn't a guy who's going to walk in and challenge anyone for a job. This is a guy who's going to sit. And with young people in his position, it's not like he's going to be challenging them, you know?
It was very interesting, like you mentioned, watching their picks, because every time they came up and picked, you're just like, all right, just all right. You're never like, I wonder how that's gonna work out, or did they reach, or they got a great steal. It was just okay.
It was like, okay, they reached on Chase Claypool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we knew somebody was gonna reach on Chase after his combine.
Why the Steelers? They needed a different type of receiver. They didn't need another. They didn't need a Kelvin Benjamin. What they needed was a new Martavis Bryant. They didn't get it. They got a Kelvin Benjamin.
Hopefully with a little bit more self-control.
Hopefully he turns into the next Mike Evans, because frankly they have just about the same build. Again, you put him next to Mike Evans, you're like, that would be fun to watch. Imagine those two on the outsides and you slap Chris Godwin in the slot. That'd be fun.
The last thing we need to do is give Tampa Bay more options in the passing game.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
They've exceeded their limit. But Topher,
what grade? Tight end situation that we don't know how that's going to work out. Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard,
Gronk.
And Gronk all in the same tight end room.
It's got to be O.J. Howard gone, right?
You'd figure, right?
Yeah.
Because no one's going to want to take that Cameron Brate contract, and OJ's still on his rookie deal. And with his youth, I mean, maybe they'll keep OJ and let him learn under Gronk. Maybe learn how to block since he's never done that before in his career.
It'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. But going back to the draft, what did you end up giving the Steelers?
A C. That draft was horrendous. I think we can all agree on that, right? Unless someone really has a lot of faith in Chase Claypool, there's no reason to give them anything higher.
Or they were big Alex Highsmith or Anthony McFarland guys.
Do those exist?
I think you have to scour the internet for them. But that will that will conclude the AFC North portion of this. Let's move down to the AFC South, starting off with the Colts. They went with Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor in the second round. Then with their third-round pick, they went and got Julian Blackmon. Jacob Eason was their fourth-round pick. Danny Pinter was their fifth round. Robert Windsor was their sixth round, alongside Isaiah Rodgers, Desmond Patman, and Jordan Glasnow also in the sixth. I think they had a phenomenal second round. I know me and you talked a little bit at the start of the show. You weren't as high on Michael Pittman as I was, but I think he is an extremely talented receiver, and I love their forward thinking with going and getting Jonathan Taylor. I know I've given him a hard time on this because I don't know that he'll stay to that health level that he needs to be at, particularly with how many miles are on his legs. But him and Marlon Mack as a duo threat back system in that committee that is taking over the NFL, I think that will project very well, and that might be the best chance for Jonathan Taylor to succeed.
I agree. I think Jonathan Taylor might be one of the few players in the draft that can challenge, can really push Joe Burrow in that race for Rookie of the Year. Because if you look out, a lot of the quarterbacks taken, they aren't crazy. They're none of them are going to be starters right away. Or I don't project them to. Maybe Tua, but maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick takes the reins for another year. Joe Burrow right now is a very obvious frontrunner for Rookie of the Year. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be the one who threatens him. Now he's behind the insane Colts offensive line.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see. The only thing that I'd worry about is Marlon Mack vulturing some of those touches. But one of my favorite things in this entire draft class happened with this team. Topher, can you tell me what it is?
Jacob Eason being drafted behind Phillip Rivers.
Yes, I went months saying that Eason is very comparable to Phillip Rivers, and it's happening. He's going to get to learn behind the man that I say he could play just like, which I'm a big Phillip Rivers guy, so that's a compliment. That's a very, very big compliment for me to comp Jacob Eason to him. But you give him a year to learn, which I think he probably needed. You let him sit behind Phil Rivers, who is somebody who has the same traits in my eyes that he does. You put him in Frank Reich's offensive system, who I am a very big fan of. I don't see what can go wrong here.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing too many issues with it either. I think perhaps the Bucks could have been a better situation for him. Obviously, the offensive line might be a little weaker, and Tristan Wirfs and Ali Marpet, they'll hold down that left side. I'm still not even sure who their starting right tackle is. I don't believe they extended DeMar Dotson, so I'm pretty sure he's a free agent or retired.
Yeah.
But the right side is a disaster. They have a lot of money tied up in Donovan Smith. So the offensive line right now is in shambles. They have Ryan Jensen at center, which should be reliable. But again, that right side of the offensive line is questionable. So maybe Jacob Eason wouldn't have thrived there as much as you'd hope he would with the Colts, obviously. Their offensive line is solid, probably one of the better ones in the NFL. But yeah, Jacob Eason being there, especially with Michael Pittman now. Devin Funchess is gone, but they still have Paris Campbell and T.Y. Hilton.
And Michael Pittman Jr. now.
Not to mention Jack Doyle.
Exactly.
A lot of reliability on that offense. It gives them a chance to focus on their defense in next year's draft is what it does.
I don't even think their defense was that far off. The one big thing that I did not like, I was a very, very big fan of the Julian Blackmon pick. He'll be nice to see rotate between Hooker, Willis, and Blackmon. But I did not like how they waited all the way until the sixth round to get a cornerback. That was one of my personal biggest hates for them coming into this draft. And it was very confusing to see them wait that long. They probably could have passed on Julian Blackmon, even though I do genuinely enjoy his fit in this offense or defense, excuse me. I kind of sat there, I was like, that just doesn't seem right.
Do you know if they have did they extend Pierre Desir?
Yeah, I believe so.
And they still have Kenny Moore.
Well, let me double check the Pierre Desir thing. I know, yeah, they still have Kenny Moore.
So they still have Kenny Moore, obviously, because they did extend him. And they have Rocky Sin.
Pierre is in New York Jets.
He's on the Giants?
Jets.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. I would have heard if he was on the Giants.
Yeah.
Would have gotten several texts. Who's Pierre Desir? Be like, Dad, why do you care?
A
Giants are
Vikings
gonna be bad
fan.
anyway.
A Vikings fan that's in a Giants family.
And my brother's a Packers fan. I'm lucky I'm not dead.
Yeah.
So, all right, with all that, do you have any other notes? Would you like to give us your grade?
Yeah, I gave them a B+. It was initially penciled in as an A, but I can't put myself over that hump without them getting a corner because I do think that is a very drastic need.
Especially with Pierre Desir on the Jets.
Yeah.
Honestly, that solves a lot of issues for the Jets now, so good for them.
Yeah, it became a much bigger need within the past 20 seconds.
It certainly did.
But moving on, Topher, go ahead and tell me who the Jaguars selected this year.
I loved this draft class. It was phenomenal. They did an excellent job filling several needs. And they even got one of my favorite players in the entire draft. So let's see it. They had C.J. Henderson at 9, Kelvon Chasen at 20 in the second round, 10th pick, 42nd overall, Laviska Shenault, Devon Hamilton at 9 in the third round, Ben Barch at 10 in the fourth round, Josiah Scott, 31st in the fourth round, Shaquille Quarterman in the third round. Little chronological error. Don't worry about it.
Oh, no.
Daniel Thomas, all caps, in the fifth round. Colin Johnson, who is just a human monster, in the fifth round. Jake Luton in the sixth. Tyler Davis in the sixth. And Chris Claybrooks in the seventh. Why is Daniel Thomas in all caps there, Jackson?
Because I had my caps lock on and did not realize it until I had gotten too far down and had made a mental note to go fix it, never fixed it. So it's just it's just hanging out now.
Well, Daniel Thomas, we're excited to see you.
Yeah, I guess we're big Daniel Thomas guys now.
And I'm a big Shaquille Quarterman guy.
Yes.
So happy that he made it onto this team. And again, a little out of order, or was he in the fourth round?
He was fourth round.
Fourth round, 34th pick, people.
I really just fell apart with my keyboard from that point to the end of Daniel Thomas.
Good for Jackson. Good for Jacksonville.
But, yeah, go ahead and tell us why you enjoyed him so much.
I just love people out of Miami. It's a great school for linebackers.
Yeah,
not to mention his insane athleticism. It's I just feel like he could be a really good player. And I think that with Telvin Smith, well, for one thing, I'm not sure. We still are unsure if he's returning to football. I'm starting to doubt it.
Yeah.
I was really hoping he was, though. He's one of my favorite players out of 2014 draft, which I'd love to just do a full episode on at some point, but it won't be today. I think that there's a missing spot for a right outside linebacker. And, of course, they had a young player fill in. I forgot his name. It's very long and has a lot of consonants in it. And I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce it if it was right in front of me. But I think that there's a opening at that spot that could be filled by Miles Jack. I think he'd be a great outside linebacker, especially for Jacksonville, because they had a very strong pass cover presence on that outside linebacker that was being covered by Telvin Smith. And I think Miles Jack could fill that hole, being that he's an excellent pass coverage linebacker himself.
Yeah. I'm very interested to see how they shift things around for Shaq Quarterman.
I think they're going to have to shift around so many things regardless, because they have so many new needs and new spots filled that they, frankly, I didn't even have before. They didn't have these spots that they're filling. Yeah. Or now they have Kelvon Chasen, they might switch to a 3-4 and run him at outside linebacker, because he would, he could probably run coverage. Then they'd run a dual linebacker with Miles Jack and Shaq Quarterman. There's a whole lot of stuff that they could do that is frankly just confusing at this point.
Yeah, there's certainly plenty of options, but looping back to the top of the class, CJ Henderson was a great pickup in my eyes. He was a real riser at the closer to the draft class. Might have been a bit higher on Christian Fulton, but either way, CJ Henderson, I feel like he's going to work out just fine in Jacksonville. As well, Clavon Chason, not a player we were particularly high on, but with everything that's escalating from Yannick Ngaweu's current contractual dispute, probably smart to go ahead and grab him, let him develop a little bit, and put him in there maybe as a replacement. Overall, though, I loved their draft class. And this was, I believe, the highest ranked or highest graded one that I had. I ended up giving them an A- overall.
Well, I don't believe that I gave anyone an A-, so congrats, Jacksonville.
Yeah. If they weren't the top, they were tied. But yeah, no, easily one of the best draft classes of this past draft. Now, a complete 180 from one of the best to one of the worst, the Houston Texans.
Baby, who doesn't love talking about Big Bill O'Brien? So many mistakes have been made.
This offseason just has not.
And we get to laugh about them.
It's not.
I feel bad for the Texans and Deshaun Watson.
But they ended up selecting Ross Blacklock, 2nd round, 8th overall. Jonathan Greenard in the 3rd, Charlie Heck in the 4th, John Reed also in the 4th, and Isaiah Coulter in the 5th. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Blacklock as a player. I think he's very talented. But they had much bigger fish to fry. They had much bigger fish to go and replace and get new positions. They needed a corner for sure. They needed a better receiver because, Nuke's gone. And I understand that you couldn't address all of that where you wanted to as early because, you had 5 picks and you didn't even get to start drafting until the 2nd round. But Blacklock as your first pick just is a head scratcher to me.
That's not the only head scratcher. You said they didn't get to pick until the 1st round. They traded away DeAndre Hopkins. How did you get a 1st round pick for what is arguably one of the best receiver in the league? If not, he's at least top 3 on anyone's list. If you want to put Michael Thomas ahead of him, go for it. If you want to put Julio Jones ahead of him, I'd question you. He's at least top 3. And you didn't manage to scrape together a 1st round pick when you traded him away? No, you got David Johnson, bubblegum, and some rocks. You didn't get anything for him. You got no value back. It's terrible. That being said, I like Ross Blacklock. He's a really just massive rock in the middle of your defense, and it's probably going to be everything they wanted Louis Nix to be.
Yeah.
He has potential. I wish he was still in the league.
He has potential to fill in for a decent void, but you had to go with something better. Christian Fulton was still on the board here. Do
you know how many disappointing draft picks they traded for? They have Gary Conley and Vernon Hargreaves. 2 first-round corners that are still not even 25 years old.
Vernon Hargreaves just isn't it. We know he's not it at this point. They
should try him at safety. Right, honestly, they should. He was so good when he ran safety.
But the questionable calls do not end at Ross Blacklock. Skipping over to Charlie Heck, you've got Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard on your tackles positions. What are we doing here? You just signed Laramie Tunsil to a $22 million a year contract for the next 3 years, and Titus Howard you just drafted in the 1st round last year. Plus, when you got around to drafting a cornerback, Bryce Hall and Harrison Hand were still there, but you got John Reed. No offense to John Reed. Zero offense, but I was significantly higher on Bryce Hall and Harrison Hand than I was John Reed.
Hey, yo, represent Harrison Hand, Vikings, yo.
Yeah, Harrison Hand's a great player. But
there's just we could go all day questioning everything Bill O'Brien's done, even since he's gotten the head coaching job. It doesn't stop when he got the GM job. It didn't just start after he became a GM. He's made awful decisions his entire career. That's not really what the problem is. I like Jonathan Greenard. We didn't even really mention him. He's a solid player. They have Whitney Merciless. They have J.J. Watt. They lost DJ Reader, so that might be another reason they drafted Ross Blackrock. They needed defensive tackle either way.
Yeah.
But what did
Just
you grade him? Because honestly, I'm looking at the grade right now, and I think it might be too high.
Yeah, as you were saying that, I actually dropped it from a D plus to a D. I just can't. I mean, the only reason it's not a D minus or maybe even an F is because I enjoy Blacklock, and I think Greenard has at least some potential to make noise in this defense. But I mean,
who is their right end and right outside linebacker at the moment? Do they? Because I think Greenard might be a little more needed than we are letting on.
maybe he's just not. He needs more polish. He won't be a year one or year two great. He won't be one of those steals of the draft for his first year or two. But
all right, well,
yeah, I guess we'll see.
We have a slightly higher note with the Titans here.
Yeah, decently higher. Running through their picks, Isaiah Wilson, the 29th overall pick. Chris Fulton, 29th in the second round. Darrington Evans, 29 in the third. Laurel Murchison, pick 29 in the fifth. Cole McDonald, big refs, seventh round, 10th pick. And Chris Jackson, the 29th pick of the 7th round. Isaiah Wilson was a smart grab. Conklin's gone.
You needed Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah.
Well, you needed his position. I don't know if you needed Isaiah Wilson. That's the thing.
But I mean, you take what you can get. At least it wasn't somebody who's he feels okay.
At least they didn't draft Ross Blacklock.
Yeah.
I think Kristen Fulton was a good pick too. I think whatever ill will you had toward the Isaiah Wilson pick itself was made up for with Chris Fulton.
In spades. In absolute spades. He was a corner we were mocking in the first round. We thought he was first round quality, and he was almost a third round pick. Like that's mind boggling.
I wanted him over Gladney, but I can't change the past.
No. We can
Cole McDonald.
My boy. And you'll see in my notes on that I think they might have drafted him to be a Taysom Hill-esque figure, which, don't get me wrong, Breeze does not equivalent out to Tannehill. And I think
Dude, I'd like to see him be a starter. What if he wins that job? How exciting would that be?
Oh, I'd buy a jersey immediately.
Tannehill be a $20 million backup again? It'd be the second time he's done it. It's amazing.
Without question, I would buy that jersey as soon as I could. If he wins the starting, I might just buy one just cause.
What if he has a Dak Prescott-esque preseason and everyone's like, yo, what's good with Cole McDonald?
Well, that would.
And then Tannehill gets a 3-week injury. Cole comes in, goes 3-0, and then they're like, yo, Tony Romo syndrome, and then he's in.
I was about to say you'd be wishing an injury upon Tannehill for
which would be so sad. But wouldn't it be so cool for Cole McDonald? Breaks the dreads out again?
Here's my thing. Tannehill is most likely going to be on a bit of a decline this year. At least he got his bag while he could. Either way. But yeah,
I don't know how much faith I have in Ryan Tannehill. He was always a good quarterback while healthy, but he was never healthy.
And he was just never really – he was always mid. He was the middle tier. He was good enough to be the quarterback and win games. He wasn't good enough to be the quarterback that wins you games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, overall, they had a very all right class. I don't project much of a role for Chris Jackson, but Darrington Evans is kind of just Dion Lewis light. They made him a cap casualty, brought in Darrington Evans, gave him a B just because no matter how much I love Cole McDonald, I can't give them an A just for one selection. So had to settle with the B.
That is fair. That is fair. You're a fair and just ruler over the Titans. I'm sure they appreciate your wisdom that you're dropping on them.
Anytime. Moving to a new division, and maybe even a bit more wide open of a division as it's ever been since we've been alive. The AFC East. Topher, tell me what the Bills did.
The Bills had no first-round pick. They traded it for Stephon Diggs, and they probably won the trade. That being said, AJ Epinesa with the 22nd pick in the second round. Zach Moss with the 22nd pick in the third round. Gabriel Davis with the 22nd pick in the fourth round. Jake Fromm with the 22nd pick in the fifth round. Tyler Bass, a place kicker, with the 9th pick in the sixth round. Isaiah Hodgins, 6th round, 28, and Dane Jackson, 7th round, 25th pick.
Isn't it beautiful how we went from my quarterback to yours?
Jake Fromm, baby. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, I have a man crush on Jake Fromm. And for anyone that cares, I predict him being a starter after a few more playoff laterals from Josh Allen. Now, I'm not wishing bad things on these quarterbacks when I say things like this. I am just telling you what I can I'm telling you what I am inferring from past events. Jake Fromm threw a ghost lateral and lost a playoff game. I don't see him improving in the playoffs. I see him continuing to choke. And then that is where Jake Fromm comes in, because that man can shine in the spotlight. The Cole McDonald thing. I'm not wishing injury upon Ryan Tannehill and predicting that Cole will just slide into a starting spot. In history, Ryan Tannehill has proven to be an injury-prone quarterback. He gets hurt a lot. I'm just saying it's not out of the question that he gets hurt. Cole McDonald can steal that starting spot because he's an uber-talented player with a lot of athleticism.
Right.
So, just trying to clear up, if anyone is planning on calling me out for being like, oh, he's just hoping quarterback sucks so that his boys can slide in. No.
But, yeah, AJ Epinesa fell a bit lower than we ever expected. Zach Moss, one of my boys, big Utah running back. I cannot wait to see how he functions in this team. Gabriel Davis is just he's an all right receiver. Fourth round, probably decent quality. But, yeah, I mean, outside of for me, Moss, nothing really jumps off the page at you other than Epinesa. What did you end up grading him?
I give him a B+. Those first three picks, really good. I think Jake Fromm, he's going to fit in real nicely as a backup and future starter. Tyler Bass, they got a place kicker while they had Hauschka. That was interesting. Don't get it. Isaiah Hodgins and Dane Jackson. 6th and 7th rounds, mostly just depth. You don't really see a lot of crazy talent. You know, Charles Leno's don't just fly off the board. They don't happen like that. No. You don't often find a 4-year starter and a player that you're willing to extend for multi-million-dollar deals in the 7th round. It just doesn't happen. But Epinesa, Moss, Gabriel Davis, and Jake Fromm, all terrific picks. No reason to give them anything lower than a B+.
Yeah, very understandable pick, or very understandable grade, excuse me. But looking at the Dolphins, since I made you write all these ones out, I'll go ahead and be the one that has to say all the names. Tua Tagovailoa at 6th overall, Austin Jackson, 18th overall, Noah. Yes, Auburn cornerback. Still haven't learned how to say that last name. I apologize.
I'll take a shot, folks.
Okay, go for it.
Igbino. Nope.
Igbenogini?
Sounds right. Robert Hunt, 7th pick in the 2nd round. Raekwon Davis, 24th pick in the 2nd round. Brandon Jones, Texas safety. Love that. 6th pick in the 3rd round. Solomon Kindley. 4th pick in the 5th round. Jason Strobridge, 5th pick, 9th pick in the 5th round. Curtis Weaver, 19th pick in the 5th round. Blake Ferguson, 6th pick in the 6th round. And Malcolm Perry, 32nd pick, 7th round. probably what would normally be considered Mr. Irrelevant, but apparently people get picks when their big players leave. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, they're I forget what it's called. Yeah,
Compensatory. Oh, my camera
compensatory
just
picks.
shook. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't take too many notes on this one because there's not much notes to be taken. I mean, obviously they drafted a lot of players, but and what do you really have to say about them? My favorite pick for this team, Curtis Weaver, potential steal. He was so highly ranked on my board and Jackson's board, and he fell to the 5th round. I mean, what a pick. Then not to mention so many day one starters were potentially taken here. And it was very surprising to see them take a corner in the 1st round after they give this historically large contract to
Byron Jones.
I was going to say Brandon Jones because I just did.
Yeah.
Weird. It just like I couldn't think of Byron. But yeah, Byron Jones gets this historically large contract. And then the second highest paid corner in the league is already on their team in Xavier Howard. So drafting a corner in the 1st round, are you, Dolphins? That's
they had too many picks to do.
That's the thing to do, huh? You know what they could have done? They could have taken Josh Jones, got both sides of the offensive line secure, maybe take a center or I don't know, a position they needed, maybe receiver. Could have gotten T. Higgins to go alongside Devontae Parker, who they just extended. There were so many things that they did. They decided to take another corner. Maybe they needed a slot. Who knows? And then they took Brandon Jones, who I like. But if they're not planning on cutting Rashad Jones, I don't know where he really fits. Maybe to replace Minkah Fitzpatrick. But I think they took so many players.
Bobby McCain did a solid enough job of that last year that I think Brandon Jones is probably just waiting in the wings for Rashad to get cut. But I find it hard to believe that a team could miss on a draft or not come out with plenty of decent enough players when you have 14 picks. So, Topher, what grade did you give them overall?
A-. It's hard to mess up when you have that many picks. Not to mention you took the future of your franchise in Tua. Austin Jackson, who's talented, maybe a little early. Noah, no known last name, was taken late in the 1st. He could project to be a very talented player. Auburn, obviously 1st-round talent. I mean, he was taken there he was taken there for a reason. Robert Hunt, likely going to be another starter as a rookie for this team. He's a good guard, very big, very solid. Raekwon Davis, he could definitely start alongside Davon Godchaux, or maybe even take a spot. I mean, very talented defensive tackle. Brandon Jones, probably waiting to be a starter, like you said. Curtis Weaver, there's such little talent on that defense. It's hard to not find a spot for a guy like him.
Yeah, he'll make his way. He'll make his way into making an impact very, very quickly.
And I'm just going to tell you, don't hold your breath on literally any of the other many names that I said while reading off this laundry list of players. I'm sure they'll find a spot for them somewhere. They will record stats this year, unless they get cut or not signed at all.
They have plenty of spaces open for applications. But
and not to mention, players were literally asking to leave. So there you go.
Moving on to the Jets, Mekhi Becton, the 11th overall pick. Denzel Mims falling all the way to 27th in the 2nd round. Ashton Davis, 4th pick in the 3rd. Jabari Zuniga also in the 3rd. LaMichael Pirine, James Morgan, and Cameron Clark all coming in the 4th. Bryce Hall in the 5th, and Braden Mann in the 6th. I just still don't get the Mekhi Becton thing. I mean, I know
I don't understand the attraction.
It's his combine and his size, but his tape didn't really get me like that. It's just, it's just I don't fully understand it. But Denzel Mims was somebody I kind of expected to find his way into the 1st round, and to fall almost to the 3rd was kind of mind blowing.
See, for me, Denzel Mims, I feel the same way about Denzel as I did about Mekhi. I don't really get it. And I see why people would like him. He's kind of got that AJ Green build, maybe a little skinnier. He's also got a lot of speed, 6'3", maybe like a skinny AJ Green, a little quicker, but he doesn't have the same hands. He doesn't have the same intangibles. He's just got that size. He has that desired one receiver size that you see in AJ Green. You see it in Jordy Nelson, guys like that. They all had that size and that speed. I don't see the intangibles that he brought to the table to make him a crazy good receiver. I don't see it.
A lot of
Another one like that. Michael Thomas has that same size, that 6'3", 205-pound build.
Yeah.
That you want to see in your one. All guys like that have it. I don't see the intangibles brought to the table by him.
He tested all right from what I saw at the combine. He's very just overall talented. Apparently he played all of last season through an injury, which kind of answers some questions about, is he strong enough? Is he durable enough? But for him to just rough it all the way through that injury, shows that he's at least ready to play ball. And
Julio and Aaron do it every year.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's just, I think he was a better receiver than T. Higgins. I think I would have rather had him than T. Higgins. So to see him fall another, 26 picks?
Yeah.
Where T. Higgins was, I think the Jets got a steal there.
I can see where you're coming from. Overall, solid draft. A few players just don't fit. They drafted a lot of talent. It looks like, from what I could tell at least, it looks like they were going best available talent.
Yeah.
Getting Ashton Davis when they really don't have a spot for him, or Jabari Zuniga, probably more of a need. Get that edge rusher spot filled. Bryce Hall, he's talented enough. And, Cameron Clark and Mekhi Becton get more tackles. Makes sense. Well, Michael P. Ryan should take a little bit of pressure off of Le'Veon Bell. So I dig it. I can definitely see why people would like it. I give him a B.
Yeah. Again,
seems fair. Nothing mind-shattering going on in the Jets war room, clearly.
No, just hold on. Make the right picks, probably. And if you just don't absolutely love what's on the board, best player available. It's a great strategy. It just didn't work out to the highest order that it probably could have for the Jets.
I think maybe Tristan Wirfs was on the board. That's my problem. Yeah. If Tristan Wirfs was off the board, Mekhi Becton's a great pick. Tristan Wirfs was on the board, and you still go Mekhi. See, I had Mekhi going to the Jets because I had Wirfs going to the Cardinals.
Right. But we also didn't think Andrew Thomas would be fourth.
Yeah, but I wanted him to be.
Yeah, but I
wanted him to be, but yeah, no, that's just another variable that we didn't see coming. I wanted to see it coming, but obviously it wasn't really in my
wheelhouse. Yeah. But moving on to the final team of the AFC East, we have the New England Patriots. Kyle Duggar was their first pick. It was in the second round, though, pick 5. Josh Uche also coming in the second round at pick 28. Anthony Jennings, Devin Asai, Dalton Keene all coming in the third. Justin Rarwasser in the fifth.
Another place kicker.
In the fifth?
Yeah.
Lord. Michael Onwenu, on something. So round
1-1-U.
Justin Herron in the 6th, as well as Cash Malia. Devin Woodard in the 7th.
Yeah, I'm missing an S in Cash. That's my bad.
You're good. This is just a weird.
This was a really weird draft. I agree. It was quantity over quality, definitely. And I'm going to tell you this now. Don't knock me for this. I don't know a lot of these names.
Yeah.
It looked like they were just taking players at the positions they needed, and we're just like, you know what? At least some of these guys have to work out. That being said, love Kyle Duggar. We all know the Patriots love their special teams. He's going to fit in nicely there. Maybe they'll groom him to take over for Devin when he inevitably ages out. Uche and Anthony Jennings. We were talking about this before. Outside linebackers on the Patriots are Pro Bowlers. It's just how it works. Donta Hightower, Jamie Collins, Pro Bowlers. Kyle Von Noy, Pro Bowler. Josh Uche, future Pro Bowler. Just how it works. There's a system. They have one. It works.
The three things that are certain in life: death, taxes, and the Patriots creating Pro Bowl offensive or outside left linebackers.
Yeah, it's just how it is, guys. It's one of those things that you just have to accept as an inevitability in life. The Patriots will produce Pro Bowl linebackers.
Yeah, they're a factory for them. But overall, I'm looking at your note. You said you gave them a C+.
Yeah, I know we're talking about this draft class like it's amazing. It's not. They drafted a kicker in the 5th round. Come on. What do you want me to give them? An A? Like, they don't deserve one based on the names here. I mean, Justin Herron's a quality tackle. They don't really need a tackle. I mean, obviously Isaiah Wynn is suffering from EFS.
EFS, flower syndrome.
And but they're not going to do anything about that. They don't care. They still have Marcus Cannon. They don't need a tackle. This is just a list of names that are going to be on their team. No one pops off the board except for maybe Duggar, Uche, and Jennings. Those first 3 picks were solid. Dalton Keene could make an impact because we all know the Patriots love their tight ends, and they just haven't had one in a while.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Packers. You know, if they had one, he'd be good, but they haven't.
That will conclude the AFC East portion of this. Moving on to our final division, the AFC West. The Denver Broncos went out and collected Jerry Jeudy in the first, KJ Hamler in the second, Michael Ojemudia in the third, as well as Lloyd Cushenberry and McTelvin Ajim also in the third, Albert Okwuegbunam in the fourth, Justin Strnad in the fifth, Netane Moody in the sixth, and Tyree Cleveland and Derek Tuska in the seventh. They hit wide receiver real hard, but I think they might have just made the best young receiving core in the league. Sutton, Jeudy, and Hamler, that's great. Absolutely phenomenal. As well, Ojemudia, they don't have a great cornerback core right now. I know they just traded for Boye, but they lost Chris Harris. I can envision Ojemudia sliding in and making a pretty significant impact, even though he is fairly unpolished. I think he could be thrown into the fire very early. As well, Lloyd Cushenberry, a great pick for them. Paradis, after he departed in FA, you need a center, and Cushenberry was one of the best in college last year. I very much enjoyed their draft class this year, outside of Albert O, because I just don't get it.
All right. I'm going to open my part of this by saying the only reason you don't like Albert O is because Logan likes him so much.
No, I've been saying he's not good.
Yeah, I know. You could say he's not good, but 4th round is pretty much where he was supposed to fall. Don't shake your head at me.
Not based on tape. Based on combine, sure.
Well, Jerry Jeudy might be one of the biggest steals of this draft, especially coming off the board as the second receiver. Hamler, they're clearly just trying to recreate what they had one time. Jeudy is Demaryius Thomas plus, definitely a better version of it, better reincarnation. KJ Hamler is going to be their Emmanuel Sanders. And frankly, I think he's going to do a better job of being Emmanuel Sanders than Emmanuel Sanders did. Albert O, clearly they want a Julius Thomas clone, so they just drafted the fastest tight end on the board.
But they just got
and then Cortland Sutton's going to slide in as that third man they never had.
Yeah, it'd be. And
Noah Fant. They have Noah Fant.
Yeah,
how did I forget about Noah Fant? He's on like all of my Madden teams.
I don't know.
And then Lloyd Cushenberry is a beast. He's going to take over for Connor McGovern, no problem, because apparently they have a serious problem paying their centers. Yeah, Matt Paradis left after being one of the highest regarded run blocking centers in the league, and they were like, we could give you money or you can walk, and this Connor McGovern guy who's been on our team for 3 years can come in and play, even though we've never seen him play. as a starter. So then Paradis walked to grab his bag from Panthers, and Connor McGovern started 1 year, got high praise, and then they were like, sweet, get out. And then he got paid by the Jets. Lloyd Cushenberry, can't wait to see how much money you make in 4 years. And then, Natane Moody's going to be good, although they don't really need him.
Yeah, it is just a sneaky good pick. I just like the idea of having him on your roster, especially in the 6th round.
Yeah, no, he's a really good quality, quality, value, great value, because he was better than a 6th-round player, in my opinion. I thought his tape was phenomenal in the run game, at least. Maybe people had a problem with his pass protection, but they have Ronald Leary. They don't need a right guard.
Yeah. But
maybe Ronald Leary's on an expiring contract. I don't know. I haven't checked Ronald Leary's contract recently.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I ended up giving them an A-. I think it was a phenomenal class. They were one of the better pickers this year, and if I'm a Broncos fan, I'm very satisfied with this haul.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice duo. It's going to be like that Ebron Doyle duo at tight end.
Yeah.
Because as much as you might not like Alberto, he has good enough hands to be a 2 tight end. And he's a fast 2 tight end. He can run those seam routes. Imagine a double seam. Imagine a double seam with Hamler out the slot, Judy deep. It'll be nice.
I just don't.
I'm not 5 receiver sets.
I'm not even a little appealed to Alberto's tape. But moving on to the Chargers, they went ahead and took Justin Herbert at the 9th overall pick. Kenneth Murray, pick 23. Joshua Kelly, round 4, pick 6. Joe Reed, pick 5, round 5. Alohi Gilman, pick 7 in the 6th round, and KJ Hill, pick 6 in the 7th round. Did I say that right? Gilman was pick 7 in the 6th. KJ was pick 6 in the 7th. I don't know. But we know how I feel about Herbert. I'm not going to dwell on that. There's no reason for me to dwell on that because I'm not a fan. Ken Murray was my linebacker 1 this year, and he's a better replacement to this point of Thomas Davis's career. He is over the hill. Kenneth Murray can fill that role a little bit better than Thomas Davis could have last year. Joshua Kelly, I just kind of okay pick, I guess. I know they lost Melvin Gordon, but I feel like Eckler's got that one pretty sewn up. He'll just kind of get whatever scraps are left on his plate. And they waited a while to get receiver, but they did double up on Joe Reed and KJ Hill. KJ Hill being one of my favorite receivers from the class. I'm obviously not one of the best, but I did really enjoy KJ Hill's tape.
I think KJ Hill might have been their best pick in the whole draft.
Trading him to get Ken Murray, I really appreciate. But yeah, KJ Hill is definitely a run for it.
I think Kenneth Murray was a good pick. I think he's taking over for Denzel Perryman, who I don't see the attraction there. Don't know why they waited so long to find a replacement for him.
Yeah.
But they did a good job getting Kenneth Murray. But getting him at 23 makes sense. I think it's where he should have fallen. I think getting KJ Hill as late as they did was wild. I think he's a much better player than a 7th rounder, and it was a steal. And yeah, I agree. Eckler's going to be that. He's going to take that 1 role, but I'm surprised they drafted Joshua Kelly this early. I thought maybe they still had something left for Justin Jefferson. The other Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
The other one that's on their roster right now.
Joshua Kelly was a curious pick, as well Alohi Gilman. They have Derwin James on the roster, and Gilman is literally just Derwin light. He's just a really strong safety, ironically enough. Ended up giving them a C+. I felt fine with Ken Murray pick and KJ Hill pick, and Joe Reed will be all right, I suppose, but the other half of it I just didn't like at all. So it just kind of bounces out to that C+ range.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah.
Chiefs now, Super Bowl champions and current holders of what I think is the best quarterback in the league at the moment.
Oh, yeah. You can go ahead and run down
Oh,
who they picked.
yeah, I'd be happy to. Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 32. Love to see it. Willie Gay Jr. Love to see it. Lucas Niang. Maybe a little early with that injury, but, still quality. Maybe they're looking to replace Eric Flowers with Eric Fisher.
There you go.
L'Jarius Sneed, Mike Dana, and Thacarius Keys.
They got a little wild on those names at the end.
We can pretty much just assume that all those guys were super fast because I've never seen them play before, never even heard of them.
These notes
Honestly,
will be reserved to those first 3 picks.
Yeah, that was a thing. I love the Willie Gay pick. They need that defensive help. They didn't get enough of it though, because Willie Gay was the only quality defender that they took. I think Willie Gay was a great pick. I'm a big fan of the way he plays. He's super athletic, covers the pass okay.
Very curious on their
That's
part.
it.
Yeah, very curious on their part not to get a cornerback. They just lost Kendall Fuller. Didn't seem to be in any rush to fill that void, though. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be a very solid pick if you don't look at who they passed up on to get him. That J.K. still on the board, Jonathan Taylor still on the board. I know Zach Moss doesn't really fit that offense, but I would argue Zach Moss is a better running back than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I
think they took him for his versatility.
DeAndre Swift they passed up on as well. It's just, I mean, I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a vacuum. I think he's very, very fitting for that offense.
It was kind of like the Rashad Penny pick a few years ago.
Yeah, which
I liked Rashad Penny a lot when he was drafted there. I thought it was a solid pick. And then they insisted on pretty much just holding him back and not letting him be you spent a first-round pick on a guy and you're not going to let him play special teams or be the lead back in your offense. Really interesting choice, Seahawks. What they should have done was either found a new home for Chris Carson or committed to letting Rashad be their punt and kick returner. One or the other, not just resign him to a change of pace role and completely choke him out of the offense.
Yeah, that was definitely a questionable call for Seattle. But resuming back to the Chiefs, Niang, as you mentioned, a bit curious with the injury and the fact that they have their left and right tackle through 2021. But I could see him becoming a swing tackle, much similar to what the Skins did with Jerron Christian and Ty Nsekhe before Ty Nsekhe walked. He could find his spot, but obviously no cornerback or interior help on the O-line being drafted holds their grade back very significantly. Ended up giving them a C.
Yeah,
So moving on to the Oakland Raiders. Topher, go ahead and run us down who they picked.
Henry Ruggs at 12, Damon Arnett at 19, Lynn Bowden, 16 in the third round, Brian Edwards, 17 in the third round, Tanner Muse, 36 in the third round, John Simpson, and Amik Robertson in the fourth round.
Yes. I hope you like receivers because the AFC West sure does. They went with 3 receivers as well as Denver going with 3 receivers. They just seem like, oh, you're going to do this? Well, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Just count it.
Yeah, pretty much. But Henry Ruggs, first receiver off the board. That's a curious one. I don't know.
And Jerry.
What I can really think is that they are trying to make Derek Carr look bad so that they can justify replacing him. That's the only thing that comes to mind. I'm like, why could they be making these decisions? Oh, let's pass on Jerry Jeudy for Henry Ruggs. Yeah, you know what else we should do? We should pass on Jamarcus Russell for Calvin Johnson. No, we should pass on Calvin Johnson for Jamarcus Russell. That was another sick decision that they made when probably a generational receiver is on the board. Yeah, let's just do that.
It's so weird because they're not drafting players that go around Derek Carr at all. Jerry Jeudy would have much clearly have been the better pick.
So you have a quarterback. Yeah, he has a very strong arm, but he's an intermediate passer. So let's draft a guy who ran straight his entire college career and just caught deep balls. Yeah, let's do that instead of the person with probably one of the most well-developed route trees ever.
Yeah, coming
Like
out of
we've
college
ever
for
seen come
sure,
through.
top 5. But I won't harp on the Henry Ruggs pick too much because they did try to fix it a little bit with Lynn Bolden and Brian Edwards. Damon Arnett, I'm also not going to give a lot of hate to because I personally enjoyed Damon Arnett coming out of college. Was it early? Absolutely. But was it a big need? Yep. Go ahead and address it.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate on it too much. I like Damon Arnett. We've had our differences on this topic. Seeing him come off the board this early was a bit curious, as you would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it filled a need. But remember the last time they drafted an Ohio State cornerback, he ended up on the Texans. So
Big G Conley.
yeah. Another thing I forgot to mention. So did Bradley Roby. I don't know what that has to do with it, but I was meant to mention it back when the Broncos were up. I feel like they just love scooping up the disappointing draft picks, after they're already picked.
It's kind of their thing. But Tanner Muse coming in here, I feel like he's going to be a high-quality piece. They had a lot of work to do on the secondary, tons of it. That's why they also went and got Amik Robertson because they have to address so many needs in their secondary. And I think they did a very good job of shoring that up. And I even think John Simpson could slide in to be a starter really early. He could fill in very well. I ended up giving them an A, the highest grade on this side of the draft, just because I think they did great with it.
Can't really argue. They had a great draft. They just Ruggs, man.
Yeah,
They're trying to set Carr up for failure. They're doing it.
Which
Why?
Lynn Bolden's a stud. So I'm excited to see how they handle him.
The only thing I can think is if they run Lynn Bowden on a slant while Ruggs goes deep, and that's the only play they run for the entire season outside of handing the ball to Josh Jacobs. Maybe they'll just be like, hey, if one of them are open, hit them. If not, we'll have Darren go to the flat, and he should be open.
Just let Derek Carr take the hit. It'll be whatever. We'll get a new one of those next year.
Exactly.
But that is all for this year, or for this side's AFC draft grades. Topher, before we wrap this up, we should talk a little bit about our website that we're working on. We have been publishing some articles, and I'll put a link down below so you can check the first one out that we have published, which is by yours truly. We are going to be working a little bit more on being able to put writing out there so you guys can read. So when we're not making as much content for you as we may like to, you can at least go to the articles, read those, check that out, so you don't have to miss us too much. But that will conclude today's episode of Tank Observers. I'm Jackson McCarty.
I am Chris Barr.
See you guys next time.